Hey everyone, and welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be talking about my palette, so let's start with a quick rundown of the colors. We'll start with Utrecht White, Nickel Titanate Yellow, also known as Titanium Yellow, Cadmium Lemon, Cadmium Orange, Cadmium Red Medium, Alizarin Crimson, Yellow Ochre, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, Raw Umber, Ivory Black, and Ultramarine Blue. Let's go ahead and set our palette up from right to left, starting with Utrecht White and moving on down the line. Now, Utrecht White is a mixture of both titanium and zinc white. Everybody has their preferred one that they use on their palette, but I like Utrecht White's texture and consistency mostly. It's really smooth, nice and buttery, it's not sticky or runny, and it has a solid amount of pigment that won't overpower things when I'm combining it with other paints. Next up is Nickel Titanate Yellow by Gamblin. It's also called Titanium Yellow by some other brands of paint. This is one of my favorite pigments on my palette. It's a somewhat chalky yellow that's warmer than white but is still relatively cool. It can be incredibly useful for lightening the value of paint mixtures without completely desaturating the chroma like white is apt to do. Our run of cadmiums on this palette begins with Lemon Yellow, which is a nice bright yellow that trends on the cooler side of things. It's essential for not only painting yellow objects, obviously, but also for mixing greens and brightening up oranges without losing color saturation. Next up is Cadmium Orange. As its name implies, it's a really bright and vibrant orange hue. This paint can be used with Cadmium Red, which is up next, to get these really bright, saturated reds without compromising the chroma of your mixture. I love Gamblin brand cadmiums, they're all I use on my palette. They just make a great line of good, strong paints. Our orange is followed by Cadmium Red Medium next. Now, Cad Red is available in several different options. You'll find light, medium, and dark. I personally prefer the medium because it can be made both lighter and darker very easily when combined with other pigments. It's just a little more versatile that way, I think, but it's personal preference. After Cad Red comes Alizarin Crimson. Alizarin Crimson is a cool, transparent red that is essential, in my opinion, for painting both red grapes and red glass. You'll see on the marble here just how transparent it is compared to everything else so far. Yellow Ochre starts our series of earth tones. I think of yellow ochre as being an opaque, desaturated yellow. It's essential for tempering the turning form of brighter cadmium yellows and oranges by sapping some of the chroma. It also finds its place in many of the backgrounds and wooden objects found in my work. Ochre is followed by Burnt Sienna, which is also known for its transparent qualities. Similar to ochre, I think of this as a desaturated, transparent version of red. It's perfect for warming up transparent shadows and painting wooden objects like butcher block tables. We'll continue our burnt theme here with Burnt Umber next. This is essentially a darker, slightly more opaque burnt sienna. I'll use this for essentially the same things, transparent shadows and darker wood. But this is also what I use in my early drawing stages of my paintings. We'll follow this with Raw Umber next on the palette. This is basically a cool, more opaque version of Burnt Umber, and is maybe my most used paint out of anything else on this palette. It finds its place in nearly every background I paint, and it's essential for desaturating midtones as they turn towards the shadow side of an object. Approaching the end here, next is Ivory Black, which is the darkest color on the palette. It's very cool, almost blue, when mixed with white, and is semi-transparent. Be careful though, it's tempting to use it all on its own, but as you can see on the marble, it's essentially devoid of light. This can result in big, flat, dead zones in your paintings. To combat that, I'd like to mix it with a little bit of the Umbers, just to cut that quality of it. Plus, pure black almost never exists in great quantities in nature anyway. Last but not least is Ultramarine Blue, which, depending on the particular painting I'm working on, I may or may not choose to include. This is a warm, transparent blue. When mixed in the correct ratio with white, it becomes bright, beautiful, and vibrant. It's really cool. I'll also mix this with cadmium yellow and orange or titanium yellow to mix a pretty decent range of greens. Before painting, I'll set out some liquid gel medium in a central but out of the way location for use during paint mixing. I'll use liquid in varying amounts in almost every brush stroke. A little bit helps paint flow nicely off the brush. A lot will thin paint mixtures into nearly transparent glazes and half pastes. I'll set that bottle of liquid aside, clean off my palette knife, and there we have it, my entire palette of paints. I've used this same series of colors in 95% of the paintings I've ever done. It's simple but incredibly versatile. The only thing this setup will struggle with are vibrant electric purples and some obscure shades of neon green. Other than that, you'll be armed for just about anything. Thank you all for watching. I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments.